This is going to be a virtual session. So we have some folks joining us online. So it's a pleasure. We have Dean Swartz with us today to give us our Connect to Crisis Intervention. So Dean, it's all yours.
Well, I would like to thank you too for being here this late. I probably wouldn't be here this late if I didn't have this training, right? Because we all want to try to get back home. But it's been a wonderful conference, and I've met a lot of cool people. So I'm going to be talking to you today about Connect. Connect is a program that is sponsored by the Academy for Professional Development. That is a group out of Cincinnati that I had the pleasure of working with for about the last 16 years. My day job is I'm a behavior support specialist for the Clermont County Board of DD. But this has been my side gig, and I'm getting close to retirement, so I'm hoping to even do this more. Just to let you know, the Academy does all sorts of training for providers, for DSPs. We travel the whole state of Ohio and are starting to move into other states with Connect and some of our other programs. Up front is an informational packet on Connect, but there's also a business card that has a QR code on it that takes you to our website where you can see all the other products and stuff. We are focused solely on teaching and training. So there's all sorts of types of teaching and training, and we will do that virtually or in person, wherever you're located at. So as far as Connect, let me give you a little bit of background. This is my 41st year in the field. And over the years, I've probably been trained in, I think last I counted 11 different crisis intervention and de-escalation programs. And really my life changed probably back in about 2010 when we really started talking in Ohio about trauma responsive care, trauma informed care. And I think some of you, I see some familiar faces, but some of you have probably made that journey with me of getting those trainings and experiencing more information on that. How many people here know who Sarah Buffy or Mary Vicario are? All right, good. I would have to say I'm older than Sarah, so I can't say she's my mentor or whatever, but Mary and I have worked closely together over the last 8 years or so, working together. I've had the blessing of being a member of the Finding Hope team as well as the Academy team. And that training and that information has really informed this training. When I set out to do this, it's a passion project of mine with a peer of mine. I think I have on the next slide, if we can get that to work. It's not wanting to work. It did it just a few moments ago too, so if we can. Yeah.
Weird. The arrow key should work.
Yeah.
Or if you click.
There we go. The big basis of Connect, when I started this project, and we built it from scratch based on all of our experiences, my co-trainer Tim, there's two of us, we wanted it to be trauma responsive. And obviously both of us are in the field of developmental differences, so that's where this started from. We wanted it to be relationship centered because if you've attended any of those trainings by Sarah, by Mary, the stuff that's on the DODD website that we've embraced, it's all focused on that ability, that connection. And we know how important that is in our field and with the people that we support. And then I really wanted it to be what I called regulation focused. And what I mean by that is, I think the key term, if you walk out of here, there's going to be a couple of things I'm going to highlight, but if you walk out of here today, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but if you walk out of here today remembering that for us to be able to help others, we're going to have to stay regulated. So I want it to be regulation focused. I mean, if someone's up here, and I don't care who that person is or where that is, here at the conference or otherwise, and we go up there with them, there's no hope of a safe resolution. something is going to happen. But if we can stay regulated, so you'll see that there's a lot of focus here on how do we teach ourselves to stay regulated so that we can help others. The other thing is, you can see these are some of the things that have informed this training. It all started back in about 2010 at an Ohio Association of County Boards conference. Anybody here know who Bob Bowen is? Bob Bowen was with the MANT group. Now he has his own group, and we had a session called Tackling Restraints. And I left that conference saying, we've been doing this wrong all these years, right? We've been using restraints, we've been using seclusion, and we don't have a lot of data to say that it made people safer, that it helped people move forward, and it definitely gave people that improved quality of life. So when I returned back to the county board, my peers and I that were at that conference wrote a manifesto. And that manifesto was, we're going to change how we support people. And Connect is a direct resolution of that. I started at the county board where I worked, and now we've turned this into a product that anyone can use. You can see the sanctuary model, the resilience project. Both trainers are trauma responsive care certified in our Connect training. But let's start back at the beginning. Let's start here at the beginning. What I really wanted to get across with people, and when I talk with people, is every person in this room, what do you see up here? Somebody share with me, what do you see? It's not a trick question, I promise. It is exactly what it looks like. What do you see? Yeah, it's a box. But I use this box in our training and all throughout the training to represent each of us and every single person that we're going to encounter in this world. Every one of us is carrying around our own box, right? And in that box are our experiences, our culture, our successes, our challenges, our trauma, and our beliefs, and many, many other things that make us up who we are. So every person we encounter is carrying around that own box. What I like to talk about with this is that, we need to think outside our box if we're going to be able to connect with other people when we encounter them. And no more important when people are struggling, right? When people are in crisis, when people need support. So we reflect all the way through Connect about this box. And the one thing that I really like about our Connect program is it's proactive versus reactive. Now, I said I've been in the field for 41 years. And I've been through I'm looking around and I see experienced people here. I've been through every ebb and flow of the directions that we've gone with our services. And oftentimes, out of need, we've been very reactive, right? This is going on, we're going to have to do something about that. What I really want to share with you is the beauty of Connect is it's not just for crisis. When I show you on this next slide what the basis of Connect is, it is something that we need to have in our daily lives, and something that we need to help support people to have in their daily lives every single day, right? So let's take a look at that. You've probably heard of this before. Dr. Bruce Perry has written books on it. But there are three key foundational parts to the Connect program. And that's felt safety, connection, and regulation. And like I said, when I hit on this, it really opened up my mind to, this is so simple, right? I've been making it harder than what it really was all these years. And some of you, I know, come to this naturally. For me, I was a little slower with that, and it had to come to me through these trainings with Mary Vicario and stuff. But if people have felt safety, connection, and regulation, you're going to see safer people, happier people, people who are going to be able to take risks, deal with challenges, right? Those are the kind of things that we focus on. And the Connect training, after an introduction piece, which we talk about the brain science, we lay some foundational stuff. 3 of the 4 sections of Connect are each one of these. We start with felt safety. We talk about the importance of it. We help staff learn how to help other people feel safe, and then how to help themselves feel safe in settings that feel very unsafe, right? Then we talk about connection and the importance of connection. We show ways to connect, ways to communicate to support people in that way. And then we finish up with regulation, not just how we help the people that we support regulate, but how we help ourselves regulate. At the end of every Connect training, you develop your own safety plan. We work through it and we teach a safety plan that's going to help you in those difficult times. I'm going to go ahead and slip over to the next slide here. So when we talk about felt safety, there's a few things to know. And what probably the biggest epiphany for me when I did the research and I did the work is felt safety is something that we can't just give to other people. And I see when I'm working, especially in the realm of DSPs, I see people really struggle with that because they're like, I'm safe, Dean. Why don't they feel safe? And that's when we talk about the brain science, right? About what felt safety really is. It's something that people have to come to. And generally it's because those of us who support them have walked the walk, not just talk the talk, right? You can't will somebody. I don't want to pick on anybody in particular, so I'll pick on Willie because he's over here, but I can't look at Willie and say, Willie, you are safe right here, right now, so you should be acting safely, right? I can't do that. I have to show Willie through my actions, and that can take quite a while depending on what's in someone's box that he is safe, right? And once I show him and he feels that, then we've got something clicking here. Now, when we talk about safety, we have to take into account too that sometimes feeling safe isn't being safe. And sometimes being safe isn't feeling safe. And a lot of that has to do with what's in our box, right? I grew up in a setting where it was very chaotic. Parents, divorce, argument, we won't have to go into heavy detail with that. So chaos felt safe for me most of my life, all the way into my adult life. Chaos, I'm like, I can roll with it. I can get through anything because it can't be as bad as what it used to be, right? So that has made it kind of difficult in some of my relationships over the years, right? Because I thrive on chaos. Most people want, a little bit more of predictability. We know how important it is for the people that we support. On the flip side of that, there are a lot of people out there that may feel safe in some very unsafe situations, and then the vice versa. There are people out there who are going to struggle to feel safe in maybe the safest of environments. And I have a situation that I'll just share with you that I share in the training, and then I ask the folks that are in the training to share some of their experiences. But I started this field at 17. And when I started, I knew nothing. I mean, I can even tell you, here's what I remember. I remember I got hired and I thought I was making bank, $3.33 an hour, 1985, right? And I was like, this gig is awesome, right? But I didn't know what I was doing. I hardly knew how to take care of myself. And I walked into this group home and these people said, you're going to help them in every way that they need to be helped. You're going to pass meds. You're going to do these things. And I struggled because I just didn't know what to do. And one day, I call this my peas and mashed potato moment, okay? One day, I prepared dinner. So proud of myself. I cooked pork chop, peas, mashed potatoes, served it up to the 4 people that lived there. I placed it on the dining room table in front of each one of them. And one of the gentlemen that lived there, young man that lived there, screamed, flipped the table, and ran to his room. And I am literally standing there amid all this food and broken glass, and my mouth was open, and I'm like, what just happened? What did I do, right? And the reason I call this my peas and mashed potato moment is later I found out, very new employee, This gentleman struggled when his food touched, right? Now, in Dean's underdeveloped mind at 17, we know men, our brain doesn't finish developing till early 30s, right? In my underdeveloped mind, I'm like, what's wrong? What did he, what happened to him? What did, occur? I don't understand this. I can't compute. Later on, now that I've had the training and you've had these experiences with trauma responsive care, is his amygdala said, this is a life or death issue. And it drove him to survival mode, right? He went into survival mode. My 17-year-old brain didn't understand that. I understand that now. Every one of us in this room have not only experienced our own peas and mashed potato moment, but we've actually created some of those moments in our own lives too, when we just couldn't compute what was going on. So here's another one of those things that if you walk out of here, I want you to remember. Curiosity has more power than judgment, right? If we stay curious in our responses, when we get those peas and mashed potato moments, we are going to be able to hold on to creativity, problem solving, compassion, empathy, all those things that we need to be good human beings. And that's why I say that Connect is a human-informed training. Because once I had that epiphany, I'm like, this doesn't have to be just for developmental differences. And over the last 6 years, I've trained folks in law enforcement, in healthcare, in libraries. I did a training in Northern Ohio for a group of DSPs and providers in a barn with a chicken that stood between my legs most of the time of the entire training. And it was probably one of the best times I've ever had. But yeah, it just kept going and standing right there. So I'm talking and there's the chicken looking up at me. But we want to stay curious. And curiosity is a skill that not everyone has, because our brain wants to protect us. And that's what that box that I just told you about is all about. The box is the framework with which our brain protects us. It says, hey, Dean, when stuff falls outside your box, that could be dangerous. That could be uncomfortable. You're not going to understand it. I mean, goodness, could we not have some really interesting discussions on politics, religion, and all of those things? Because we've all got different boxes, right? We're not going to do that today, all right? We don't have that kind of time. But with that, being curious lets us tap into that frontal cortex that we've all heard Siegel talk about, all the different programs there, the hand brain and all of that. And curiosity is a skill that every single DSP and every single one of us can learn. And guess what? It's also a skill that we can help teach the people we support. And it starts with one simple thing: asking yourself a question. It is 2:30 on Friday, Memorial Day weekend, like Willie said. It would not be out of the realm that someone in this room right now today is a little bit anxious and a little bit worried about what's going to happen next, right? And I need to get on the road, and I need to get home to my kids, and I need to get ready and buy those steaks and stuff for the cookout. So it would not be unusual that people might have their own peas and mashed potatoes moment during this training. Struggle, whatever. It is my ability, my choice, regardless of how you respond with those moments, on what I do. Do I go to judgment and I say, you're just being a difficult person, maybe we don't want her in here or him in here anyway? Or do I get curious and go, maybe there's something I don't know about? Or a question like, I wonder why this is so upsetting for him, right? If we can stay curious, we can have a major impact on supporting the people that we support. But like I said, this goes beyond just the field of developmental differences. This is in our own lives, professional and otherwise, in any way, when we interact with other human beings. I teach our customer service folks, when they pick up that phone and someone's upset on the other end, let's get curious instead of going to judgment, right? This is something that all of us can do. And it helps with that felt safety, because if we stay curious, then we move to the next step. We can connect with people. And connection paired with curiosity turns conflict into collaboration, right? If you're having a difficult time and I get curious with you and now we're connecting, we can make it better for both of us, right? We can make it easier on both of us. And the beauty of connection is once we start making connections, it drives future connections, right? If I help you out by pointing out that we've got great Buckeyes down the hallway, we may be more likely to collaborate again, right? Those kind of things. So that's the beauty of this program is, and we have strategies attached. We call them tools, but if tools for your toolbox, but attached to every one of these sections, we provide. Some of them are simple ones that we all have heard many times because they work. First in, yes when, those type of things. Some of them are, here's the steps to becoming a more curious person, right? And how can I exercise my brain so that I'm more curious and I don't go to judgment as often? Because that's just a human condition, because it's our brain trying to protect us. Now, when we look at connection is as important as the water and air that we need as human beings. Has anybody here heard of David Petoniak? If you haven't, I highly recommend. I've got to meet David a couple of times. He's come to Ohio and Kentucky several times. But David Petoniak says there is only one disability in this world, and it's loneliness. And that's that lack of connection. And I don't know if you guys know, but there was a research project done in 2018, and that's important that we identify 2018. And they interviewed over 300,000 people in the United States. Do you ever feel lonely? Right? 33% of folks said, yeah, I feel lonely. I feel lonely right now. Now, why is it important that I highlighted that was 2018? Does anybody know? Yeah. Before COVID. Now, what do we think those numbers would be if they repeated that? Right. Exactly. Yeah. It was a horrible challenge for all of us when COVID hit, right? Now, a little bit of background on that research. What they've also done in this research is they've identified that lonely people live about 7 years less than people who feel connected. Makes sense, right? And I was wonderful. I wish I could have got to it, but I saw there were several sessions that you guys had here about community inclusion and those type of things, because that is so important. But do we teach people, our staff or the individuals that we support, how to connect? That sometimes is missing. Our Connect program identifies how do you connect with people? Seen, heard, and valued. That's 3 of the things that can do that, is helping people feel seen, heard, and valued, right? That's how we connect with people. So the Connect section, each one of these sections run about 2 hours. There's 4 sections. We have broke these down into 1 hour blocks for county boards and COGs and providers. We'll do them virtually. We'll do them in person. We've done 4-hour sections, 2-hour sections. It's really designed to where it can be very much strategically applied. I've got a group right now in Miami County that are doing 2 4-hour sessions. We do a train the trainer on Connect. That's a 2-day training if places want to implement that. What I will also say is it's a crisis program, proactive and reactive, for in the moment, but we do not teach any sort of holds or physical involvement whatsoever. It is totally us trying to help people feel safe, feel connected, and feel regulated, right? So moving through this, we've talked about connection. Then we have regulation. Regulation is not calm. So often people consider regulation and calm or coping the same thing, and it is not. Regulation is the ability to upregulate or downregulate as necessary to help us remain safe, okay? So sometimes we need a pick-me-up, and sometimes we need to bring me down a little bit, right? So one of the things that we work on in Connect is we teach the difference of those two things, and during that safety plan that you develop, you identify things that lift you up and give you energy when you need it, and you also identify things that, hey, this is what mellows me out, right? And these are things that we can teach the people we support in addition to teaching the DSPs. So that's the three pieces: felt safety, connection, and regulation. And like I said, those are the 3 2-hour sections that occur after the intro, which is the neuroscience and things like that. But now I'm going to share with you 2 or 3 strategies that we use, or tools that we use to help with this. The first one is, we call this the Connect Thermostat. And I will tell you, this took hours. We sat and Tim, my co-creator, and I sat and we were like, we really want something that can help people understand where am I at now and what might I need to do to move to safety, right? So what we originally did was we took the 5 fear responses, or if you want to use survival responses, of flock, flight, fight, freeze, and faint, and we divided them onto this thermostat. So the flock response is connection. That's that connection piece. We're in our comfort zone, right? Now what we know is every one of us, just like we have different boxes, we've got different comfort zones. And in different environments as well, our comfort is different. Now I usually ask people, what is your comfort zone? And what I mean by that is, we're just going to do a quick poll here. What temperature do you have your thermostat set at home? 70. What else? 68. 71. Any others? Depends on the weather. That's fine. That's exactly. Yeah, and that's exactly making my point. It's the same thing for human beings, right? You know, maybe before I came in here, I was in the red. I was a little bit anxious. I hope someone shows up, right? I hope someone's here. And I will tell you, I've done so many of these trainings, this definitely feels green to me, right? Of being here in front of you. But I think it's really important, because what we can do is, once we've given folks the visual of this thermostat and we've worked with them, we can start identifying where we show up on this thermostat and in what situations, right? And what I've done is, in my day job, I have used this thermostat. I created a Basketball is Life group. And the reason I call it Basketball is Life is I work with a lot of young men who may struggle with the judicial system, who may struggle with online. You know, we know the folks that we support in some of their challenges. And what we do is, before every session, we do a check-in on the thermostat. So all of us, the staff that are working at and the people that we support that participate, we do a check-in. And some guys show up and they're like, Dean, I'm in the green, I'm ready to ball, right? I'm ready to play. Some people show up and say, hey, I'm feeling a little red today. It's been a difficult day. Or I'm feeling a little blue, right? And we identify that. Then we go through a life skill. We might talk about how to develop relationships. We might talk about how to stay safe in our community, any of those type of things. We do that. We share some challenges and some successes for each person. And then we play ball. And then at the end of that session, we check out. Same thing on the thermostat. My statistics are telling me, once we've played some ball and we've connected with our fellow teammates, 93% of the time, anybody that said they were in the red or blue walks out in the green, right? And we're now adapting this to a caregiver is life support group, because we know the caregivers, family members, and people, it consumes their whole life. It's very important to them. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to check in and we're going to check out on this thermostat. And then we're going to talk about when we're in the red, where do we feel it? How do we deal with it? What do I need to do to downregulate so that I move back into the comfort zone? So that's something that we will teach in Connect. The other thing about this that is very useful is I use it as an assessment tool, and I teach it to other folks, because we know these 5 survival responses, we can't eliminate them. They can't be eliminated. And so often I've seen behavior support focused on, he's having a fight response right now, and it comes out as this behavior. How do we make them stop? Well, we don't make them stop, because it's a survival response, right? So what I do with the thermostat is we also identify those challenging behaviors and put them on the thermostat. Is this in the green? Because connection can be unsafe sometimes, right? Or is it in the red? Or is it in the blue? And we work on moving these unsafe actions to the safe side of the thermostat, right? And I know you do this already, right? If we've got someone who has all of this energy and it comes out in unsafe aggression, we have to give them some way. There is energy there. The energy can't just disappear. It has to be transformed, right? So how do I get this person involved? The basketball group, right? That was something that transforms unsafe physical action to safe physical action. Same thing with all of those experiences. If someone is connecting, let's use online as an example, unsafely, is at risk to be exploited or to be harmed, how well does it work when we say, you can't do that? Now, we're just going to stop right here, and we know that that's illegal. We can't do that. But how does it really work when we were told, you can't do that? Don't date him. Don't hang out with them. Don't go here. How effective has that been in anyone's life? I see a lot of nodding heads here, right? It isn't effective, but let's transform it. Let's teach. Here's how you can connect safely, because we've already established connection is just as important as the air we breathe and the water we drink, right? So we can't take that away. We need to give that in a safe way. And this thermostat is a great way to track those things. I've got this showing up in the red zone. How do I move it to where it is a safe response? So we teach that as well. Any questions on that? I feel very rushed with the thermostat. This takes a big hunk of time to explain, because what we teach is how do we recognize? Our body will tell us what zone we're in if we just listen. But we, and most people, have been conditioned not to listen to it, right? I'm really, really hungry. How many of you, raise your hands, have said, Dean, at work, I've worked through lunch. I didn't take a break. I forgot to go to the restroom because what I was doing was so important in that moment, right? We don't tend to listen to our body. If we teach ourselves to listen to our body and the people we support to listen to their body, we pick up on these things to where we can use the felt safety, connection, and regulation before someone is unsafe, right? This is another strategy that we use. We call it the 3 checks. But all it is before we engage someone, for whatever reason, we need to do a quick check on ourselves. Am I regulated? Am I showing what Porges says of a safe face, a safe voice, and a safe body? That's number one, because that's paramount, right? If I show up to try to help someone else in any environment and I am bouncing off the walls, angry, anxious, all those things, then I'm not going to be able to support them. Number 2, then I do a quick check of the environment. Is this the place to help people? Is there too many people? Is there too much distraction? Is it an unsafe location? So that's our check number 2, and we talk about doing that. And then number 3, then we check the person we're supporting. And like I said, this is not specific to anyone. I teach police officers, when you show up on the scene, check yourself first. And I loved it because their feedback was, Dean, we need this. I teach a body scan, how to check your body and what you're feeling. And they said, we need this because we may have just seen one of the most terrible things in the world, and then we're supposed to jump in the car and in 2 minutes go over to this situation and not be affected by it. And we stress, we are affected by it. Our feelings are our own. It's what we choose to do with our behavior is what we can take control over. So that's the 3 checks. And then the last slide on here, we're going to open it up to discussion here in a minute, but the last slide on here is about anger. And I love to add on this, to end on this. What we know about anger is probably, most people think of anger as a primary emotion. It's the one that gets us, and our mirror neurons grab onto that anger. If you're angry, it's very likely at some point I'm going to become angry too if I'm engaging with you, because our mirror neurons tend to want to mimic what other people are doing. So anger really isn't a primary emotion, though. Anger is a secondary emotion. And I'm going to ask you a very tough question here. You do not have to answer this or tell anyone else. I want you to think about the last time you were really, really angry. I mean, really angry. And then I want you to try to look beneath that anger and realize what the driving feelings really were. And I'm going to give you a very clear example here. My son was 4 at the time. I took him to the park and we played for hours. And it was time to go home because my son loves spaghetti. My son now is 25 years old. At the time he was 4, he couldn't say spaghetti, but he loves spaghetti. Okay? And his mother called and said, dinner's ready. It's Jameson's favorite, spaghetti. So I tell him that, and we're going to the car. And we get to the parking lot, and he jerks his hand out of my hand, and he runs for the back seat, right in front of a car. Thank goodness the guy stopped the car. But I was triggered, right? So it came out as anger. You get over here. Don't you ever pull your hand out of my hand. You listen to Dad, right? But it goes much further than that. Now he's triggered because it's a peas and mashed potato moment for him. He's like, I don't understand what just happened. Dad is yelling at me and grabbing my arm and pulling me back, and that doesn't stop there though, because the gentleman driving the car gets out of the car and goes, watch your kid. Right? So now we have 3 triggered people, and it's all about anger. But I'm going to ask you, what was I really feeling in that moment that my son ran in front of that car and it almost hit him? Fear. Fear is the number one, the research says, fear is the number one contributor to anger. There's also things like sadness, embarrassment, all kinds of things like that. But the number one contributor is fear. Now, I want you to reflect on the last time you were really angry. What was that feeling underneath? You don't need to share it, but I love to, because I think this is one of the most important things we can do as a human being. It helps us keep that curiosity. When I see anger, I need to be curious and I need to stay regulated and say, what's underneath that anger right now, right? Is it, Dean, you're going over in the training and I've got to go, I'm leaving the door. Is it because I'm afraid I'm not going to get home in time to pick my kids off from the bus? Is it, but we can easily go to judgment in those circumstances, right? So that is an issue that we need to be alert to. And understanding anger. And I will be honest with you, this is totally me, no research whatsoever. My 41 years in this field. I think we have spent a lot of time, if you think of anger as the fire, and then you think of all the smoke as the things that we see, and then down here, the fuel to the fire as those things like sadness and stuff. I think we have spent an inordinate amount of time in our careers trying to put out the fire by waving away the smoke. We have tried to be like, if I stop him from being aggressive, if I help him be compliant, if I don't tolerate him cursing and treating people, then I'm going to get rid of all this anger. We work on that, and what I've seen is the fire comes back. How many people here work with someone who you've worked with him 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, heck, 20 years, and they're demonstrating the same challenging behaviors that they were when you started working with them? I am convinced, and like I said, I am definitely not a researcher. It's because we focus too much on the stuff at the top there, and we don't look down here at the bottom, the fuel for that fire. Because if I can help that person feel safe, right, probably less fear going on there. The embarrassment and the sadness. If I feel connected to other people and I know I have value in the lives of other people, less of that occurring. I feel comfortable enough to make mistakes, and I don't feel shamed when I do make them, right? So this is one of the sections that we work on, and we dig into that a little bit more in the full training. The other thing that I want to say is, before we open it up to any discussion that you guys want to ask questions or anything, is we also have a crisis cycle that we teach. And we show how all of these different things that I've been talking to you about and the additional ones that are in the training can be implemented at each step, right? You know, if this person is in escalation, here's some of the tools and stuff that we can use to hopefully de-escalate that situation and things like that. So, and we view the crisis cycle, one, as emotional first aid, right? I've worked a lot with law enforcement, and they're like, you know, Dean, we're not social workers, we're not, you know, and I say, we're not asking for that. What we're asking is that you view this as emotional first aid. And that's what I would be asking of you and your staff too is. And what I mean by that is, when we're trained in first aid, and I know we have a nurse back here, so but help me with this, okay? So when we're trained in first aid, we're trained a set of skills and tools, and we're told, implement these when they're appropriate. If it's beyond that, I mean, I've been trained in CPR and first aid for 41 of those 41 years, pretty much. And no one's ever told me, Dean, if you think it's a heart attack, ad lib it. Do what you think you can do. No, what are we supposed to do if it's beyond the scope of what we can do? Find the people that can, right? Whether it's, you know, the emergency room, whatever. I find crisis and de-escalation the same thing. There's times that people need more than just that moment, right? We can help in the moment, but there's times that we may need to help people connect with other folks that can help them in the, you know, for those crises. We want to get that taken care of before the crisis does hurt. And then we also look at the crisis cycle as a roller coaster. It's not a pretty bell curve. It's not, you know, it goes up and down many, many times over the course of even one incident, much less over the long-term piece of it. So, like I said, it's definitely a passion project of mine. We would love to share it with anybody who is interested. And I'd love to take a moment here and just open up. I know we're ready to go home, but if anybody does have a quick question and they'd want to ask it, I'd be happy to answer. And you're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't have a question. So, anything on the virtual? Okay.
Anybody have one?
Thanks, Jake. I just want to know, how do you access your Connect training?
Okay. I've got an information sheet up here. And then on the back of the business card is a QR code that will lead you to all our products. And like I said, we have it set up to where it can be done hourly, virtually, in person, 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours. And then we have the Train the Trainer program that is 2 8-hour days, because we actually mock train, do the whole thing with that to prepare staff.
So do you have to have the training as a group, or can you that be done individually, or?
Well, what we do is we are just getting ready to launch a virtual training where we're just going to set up different sections of it, and then anyone can log on and access that. So, and that'll be out on the Academy for Professional Development website. So, all right.
Yep. Anyone back here for? All right.
On the back of the paper, it's the training design and agency value where it says short teaching points make neuroscience and regulation accessible. So would you suggest instead of going through the whole shebang of like, well, you know why you can't, give your personal information to people on the internet because, you could get in, I don't know, you could be harmed and just go through the whole thing. Is it just short and sweet, like a couple words, and then see how they're feeling then with like the temperature at that point?
Well, what we know through neuroscience is when someone is being amygdala hijacked, when they're in that situation, words don't get through. I mean, we know that. Many of you have had the similar trainings to what I've had. So pictures, repetition, practice, those type of things can be proactive and in the moment as well too. So yeah, I would say sometimes we talk way too much. That particular bullet is talking to is that we are going to parse the neuroscience of it and make it very accessible to the staff and to the families so that they know the neuroscience, but they don't get tangled up in all the big stuff, that when you talk about neuroscience. So we talk very simple. We have organized the brain in 3 levels, very similar to some of the things that Siegel have done, but we call it the upstairs brain, the downstairs brain, and the basement. And the basement is your brain stem where all the survival stuff happens and the stuff we don't think about until something goes wrong, right? Our hot water heater is usually in the basement. We never think about that hot water heater until it goes out and we don't have hot water, right? The downstairs is where all the feelings are and where we put up our Christmas tree. We do those type of things. And then the upstairs is where we have those, that creativity, that's the thinking brain, the cortexes. And we teach staff and families where, here's what each one of those do. And that's how we teach the neuroscience in a very simple and understandable way. So. All right, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out. Really appreciate it.